What's up, everybody? New pod, who dis, episode 18. Today on the pod, we have when companies lob off the end of their name, how do you consume your news, and fun facts about government shutdown. Everybody, I'm Jake.
I'm Jackie.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Steven. And did you guys see this? Dunkin Donuts is ditching the donut in their name.
See you later.
Just chopping it in half.
No more donuts. Are they getting rid of donuts?
No.
Whoa,
You're gonna
whoa.
keep the
Okay.
donuts.
It's probably because donuts are bad for you and people don't want to be fat anymore.
I mean,
Dunkin's a lifestyle brand now.
Being honest.
I mean, Dunkin Donuts has always been a lifestyle brand.
Well, that's
They're
true.
just pivoting what their lifestyle is. Before it was sweets and chocolates, and now it's
but
Cheap coffee?
Their slogan's always been America runs on Dunkin', and
Yeah.
it says nothing about America running on donuts.
yeah, that's true.
I actually love their slogan is one of the best examples of a localization marketing scheme where it's like the world runs on Dunkin'. New York runs on Dunkin'. Boston runs on Dunkin'. Like, it's so easy to change and update.
Kind of
it.
like Coke did with the Have a Coke with somebody's name.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much regional; it was more personal.
Yeah, but it's like it's the easiest thing for them to do. But it's never been Dunkin' Donuts runs on, so and so runs on Dunkin' Donuts. It's always Dunkin'.
Yeah.
I take real issue with the runs because they always have a little man running, and nobody's running after you eat a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts.
But it's the coffee. They're running on their caffeine.
Yeah, but if you're drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee, you're slogging to the office in the morning. You're not running a marathon.
I think you're doing it wrong, Joey.
And so for Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' now, I'm gonna have to get used to that. They're updating a new flow and new technology and like a new kind of coffee bar concept.
okay.
So I think that's what's allowed them to kind of do this change because you're switching up how you look and how the feel of walking into a Dunkin' Donuts is.
So they're not doing it all at once, right? They're doing some test pilot stores.
Yeah, like every time
on the West Coast.
Yeah, like remember when like McDonald's started revamping how their shops looked and like slowly just start doing them. So they'll start and like when Starbucks did they have like every once in a while those really crazy design looking ones. I think it'll be kind of like that.
Well,
It'll catch on.
Starbucks did a similar thing to Dunkin' back in 2010. They were. Do you guys remember when Starbucks was Starbucks coffee? That I don't remember that specifically. The only reason it sticks in my mind it was like one of those things in my marketing class that it was like the first thing that came up in marketing was when companies change their name to broaden their product line. So Starbucks didn't want to be stuck in the coffee realm. They wanted to be known for
frappuccinos and all that
but
crap.
not even just that. Just like the food when
cafe part.
Oh
Yeah,
when they
when-
offered food.
when they started
yeah.
offering, have you guys had Starbucks food?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Unfortunately,
yeah, I
Do you
haven't
like
had
it?
it.
I like their
What have you had from there?
chorizo egg sandwich when I'm hungover.
Yeah, chorizo.
Their,
Are there beans in there?
No.
Uh.
What?
Their
You don't put
pumpkin.
beans on a sandwich?
You could.
I mean,
they do in
You can
England.
put beans on anything.
I
yeah.
guess so.
If you're a
Beans on
vegetarian.
toast is literally a popular breakfast.
Okay. Take your word for it.
No, okay, back to Starbucks.
So Starbucks, their I think it's their pumpkin loaf bread or something like that. That is it's really good. It's like crack.
Mhm. Their parfaits are good too.
Similar to the crack in their coffee, I imagine.
I don't remember it being Starbucks coffee though. I remember
So they got a lot of flack for it. People were saying, how could you do this? It's your flagship product. It's what you're known for. It's like the thing that makes and defines your brand. Why would you do it? And if you remember, the Starbucks lady, it said Starbucks coffee around the logo, and they nixed that all together and took their words out of their branding.
just
So-
did the word mark or
but I
the
mean-
logo mark.
But everyone was calling it just like I'm actually surprised Dunkin' Donuts didn't do it sooner. When's the last time you called it Dunkin' Donuts?
I sometimes call it I'm going to get a coffee at Double D's.
Double D.
That is a problem that we should address later.
or Dunkin' or just not Starbucks.
It was always Dunkin', yeah.
But for Starbucks, I used to call it I'm going to get a coffee from the Bucks. Like
Oh,
I would
the
abbreviate
Bucks?
that down to
Oh
Bucks.
my
Nice.
god.
just
no.
in pure American fashion.
Just how little bit of air do I have to blow out of my mouth
Yeah.
to get my
I'm
coffee?
going to get a Starbies. Anybody want one?
Oh,
You heard someone call it a Starbies?
I don't know, but I
No.
assume somebody somewhere called
Oh,
it
definitely.
Starbies.
Gonna go get some what do they call them? PST from Starbies. Pumpkin spice?
PSL.
Oh, PSL.
PSL.
God.
Have you guys seen the movie Idiocracy?
No.
So in the movie Idiocracy, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is a movie set about 500 years in the future, and just kind of how the United States completely devolved. It hits a little too close to home, but I won't get into that right now. But that Starbucks becomes prostitution becomes legal, and Starbucks becomes like the brothel chain. So
They
like,
just adapt. They say,
just
you know
adapt.
what? No more coffee. We're the brothel now.
because it's Luke Wilson's the main
Oh.
the main character, and
Was it a comedy?
it's a comedy. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Sounds like a dark comedy.
No, it's lightish. But he's like, yeah, well, can we stop at Starbucks? And Dax Shepard is the
Yeah, obviously.
co-star. He's like, no, we don't have time for a hand job.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I mean, that's not what Starbucks is doing now, but
Nope.
So you have Dunkin' Donuts down to Dunkin', Starbucks coffee down to Starbucks.
what's another big one?
Apple computer
Yeah,
to just Apple, or now those who
Fruit.
run the world.
Yeah.
I hate when people call it the fruit.
who calls it the fruit?
Yeah.
What?
It's in articles all the time where they're
Really?
like referring to apples and they call it the fruit. But maybe it's more of like the social media stuff, like the Skim calls it the fruit all the time.
Okay.
And like maybe BuzzFeed News too. But yeah, the fruit.
I mean,
don't
at,
like
at
that.
a certain point, Apple's not even I see the word and like I see the Apple logo, but it's just like not even. It's not even like real to me anymore. It's just like, yeah, they just like this was my computer, but I don't even think about Apple anymore. It's just like Mac.
Do you know why?
like-
do you know why they dropped the computer from the
Well,
name?
It was in 2007 when the iPhone came out, right?
Yeah, it was the same year that they dropped the iPhone, when Steve Jobs just like went up there and flopped it out and said, "Hey, guess what I'm doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
It's
when they
just
were.
a small
That's also the
computer.
thing they started doing like because it's when they broke out into doing like the more iTunes stuff and.
Well, that's
home
how everybody knew that
entertainment.
they were going to do something big because they changed the name and like people were like, oh,
Why is the name
why?
changing?
Like they're breaking into somehow other realm.
Well, remember when? What was Macintosh then? Was that even before Apple computers, or was that just referring to
That's
the operating system?
The operating system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Mac was like the actual like personal computer. Like that was like it compared it to like a car, like the Hyundai Sonata, like the Apple Macintosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And so then they had the Mac 2, and like that was kind of the like you have a MacBook Pro.
Did
now.
they have like a Granny Smith?
no?
Ever? No.
Well,
They didn't like.
But they had those awesome ones that had the color back, and I always
Oh, it
wanted
was
one.
so 2000s.
The
So-
original
When I worked
iMac.
when I worked at
Yes.
Apple in college, someone brought one of those in for repair, and all of us just like our heads just followed it as they walked it through the store, just like, oh my god.
So
It's
I
a
Well, it had that
relic.
awesome handle on it that you could take it with you.
Yeah, that's right. It was portable.
my freshman year of college, those iMacs were way out of date because I graduated from high school in 2007. But I actually had a pink one because I didn't have a laptop. It didn't work. I couldn't really use it for
You
anything.
brought a desktop to college.
Yeah, well, I got my MacBook Pro stolen at the beach. Yeah, I made a lot
So
of
you
poor
just
decisions.
dug in the attic and you were
Well, I
like,
didn't have-
"This'll do."
I didn't have another 2 Gs to spend on a computer, so
I mean, that's fair.
Jake's in lecture and he's just looking for the outlet.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have like just
Brought
carried
my
that in like a
desktop.
briefcase.
Can you guys move your stuff over?
dude, everyone had their fresh like
I need more
MacBooks.
wrist
Yeah.
space.
I was straight notebook in it. For the first 2 times I tried college, I didn't have a computer.
So you didn't get to play Oregon Trail on Facebook for that whole freshman. No, it wasn't
Oh,
Oregon
yeah, we
Trail.
did
Where were
that.
they playing? Farmville.
No,
That's
I-
what it was.
I- Definitely didn't do
I
that.
played at the computer lab.
Yeah, I skipped any fad of a game like Candy Crush, Farmville. I
Ooh,
just
I love-
completely just made sure I skipped right over
Well,
that.
you are a superior human, Steven.
I like to. I'm very proud of myself that I did not play Farmville.
Do you remember Diner Dash?
Yeah, so I skipped that.
Ugh, that was
No.
the best.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm better than that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that game was
I just
awesome.
don't. I don't have like so the gamification of these games where like when you start, it's like, oh my god, I'm doing so much stuff, and then all of a sudden you run out of whatever you need to like plant more stuff or whatever the object of the games are. And then you have to wait or buy more.
Oh yeah, no,
things.
that's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, Candy Crush fixed that. You don't have to do it anymore.
Okay, well when there was always like a buffer, and that's
Yeah,
what
that's
made
fair.
that's why I stopped. Is like I don't got time for this.
You have to grow more lives.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna throw it back even further. Do you guys remember Outwar?
No.
What is that?
Yeah, I do.
So Outwar, before Facebook was a thing, Outwar was a web-based MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role playing game.
Was that the one where you
Definitely
sent people?
done that exact thing before.
It's not the first time you use that
Nope.
acronym.
Nope, and it won't be the last.
That was one where you sent people links, right? Like
yeah, you
click
would
my
send people
outward
links
link.
and you like get clicks to like gain experience. Anyway, back to
So you basically were running a social media handle.
basically.
Did
you
you
sent
all
out
this-
links to get clicks.
This is everything that we do online is
The
basically
original
the same
clickbait.
thing. It's like give me a click, make my numbers go up, let me see some graphs, and let me earn more. That's what we all really want on a screen.
Did
right?
you have a sim that you were jealous of?
That I was
Did
jealous
you
of?
build a sim world and then you were jealous of the sim you built?
I was jealous because I could type Rosebud and get $1,000 like immediately.
Yeah, you had this sweet pool, like 4 stories.
Yeah, dude, my house was huge. And then I built
didn't have
this.
patience.
I built
couldn't
this
do Sims.
stupid backyard where, like, then I realized, like, oh wait, I can't even get to half of it because I've completely blocked it off.
No.
It takes like half a day in SimWorld to like go through your house.
I remember when, like, in Sims when you had to get a job, or like, you know, when it was time to
Yeah.
like, I was like, no, like,
Because then you stop and you realize I'm playing a game where I just built a life where they're in the game. Like it's just life. It's life. It's so stupid.
It's ultimate meta.
it's
So meta.
it's like it's life within a life.
Yeah, but they didn't have Google running their lives in The Sims. It was you. You were the Google.
Yeah, it's really.
and speaking of Google, you guys mentioned this to me earlier before we started the podcast that Google used to be called Backrub.
Yeah, 1997, believe it or not, before they came out with the genius Google. Backrub.
Okay, so where did the word Google come from then?
Google it.
Ew.
Well, it's like they became like that's a verb now, right? Like
Yeah, well, I mean, there was other things like that before Google, right?
Yeah.
Like Kleenex is a facial
Ask
tissue.
Jeeves.
yeah.
But everyone's always like, oh, pass me a Kleenex, but it could be, it's like the brand
Kleenex
name
is
that
the-
became the product name.
Right.
Yeah.
It became same with a Q-tip, right? It's a
Yeah.
it's a cotton swab or I
Yeah.
don't even know what you
It is
call it. It's just a
yeah.
Q-tip.
Or like take an Advil.
Or Advil.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen.
Because like we were talking like BBM me, like BlackBerry Messenger was the first.
Oh my,
like,
Jackie, did you have a
iMessage.
BlackBerry?
Not until I started my job. No,
Really?
because I was cool.
Oh, we definitely. Well, before you got here, we were definitely pegged you for a BlackBerry.
No, my
person.
sister had one for sure.
Oh, definitely.
yeah, definitely. It was
Shout out.
hot pink.
Of course it was.
It was hot pink, and it was
Well, BlackBerry had a big. So the parent company for BlackBerry was what was it? RIM, Research in
Yeah,
Motion.
Research in Motion.
And they had a late name change in 2013 when I feel like people kind of gave up on Blackberries.
Oh yeah.
I feel like people gave up on BlackBerry far before 2013.
Yeah, way before 2013.
I mean, I didn't know what Blackberries were used for when I was younger, because like I had the flip phone, right? But then,
Right.
like when I think I moved to like a Motorola Droid or something, but people walking around with these Blackberries are just like, I didn't understand like, well, why do you need one? You know what I mean?
Well, I use email on my phone a lot right now, so I guess that's what the BlackBerry was
Yeah,
like.
like
the first.
originally came out,
Could you
but the
imagine doing
concept
emails on a BlackBerry phone? I like couldn't take that seriously.
Yeah. The concept was not there for me. I was just like, their phone looks different. And then like people had that one that you flicked
Yeah.
the side and it like spun out.
Oh, the
Oh,
sidekick.
the sidekick.
Sidekick.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when people had those, that's when I was like, I'm not cool.
I had like an LG chocolate.
Yeah, the chocolate. Yeah.
Which like slid up.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was my
yeah.
backup phone.
It was terrible.
I had a black chocolate and then I had a mint chocolate.
Oh God.
Yeah, I remember that color. That was
and
actually a nice color.
And then my friend Tyler lost it at senior week.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? Tyler.
Tyler.
I think I went to the NV2, which like was that tiny little like brick looking thing, but it would flip over.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of had like the best like BlackBerry keyboard, but like it was a little phone on the front too.
yeah.
It's pretty tight.
I just want to go back to T9 texting.
Yeah, so do I.
it was
I
way
was-
easier.
dude, I
Do you
was
think
such
you
a
could still
speedy.
do it?
Yeah, 'cause I
Like
was
just
thinking,
as fast?
no, not just as
Oh,
fast.
I
no
think I
way.
could.
I used to write like small stories to people, and
Dude,
like
I
that's how
used
much
to-
we'd write.
I used to
Oh, I
see
know.
people that would use ABC still once T9 came out. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, people are
Why?
People are stupid.
What was your favorite part about T9?
Save time. It was quieter, like because you had to press as many buttons.
I don't know. I don't think I had a favorite part. I just
Could you guys T9 blindly?
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, could you
hell
do it
yeah.
under the desk?
I would T9.
Yeah.
Oh,
No
I
matter
would
where
have
my
full
phone
conversations in my
could be
pocket.
closed in the corner of the room, and I was T9 into it.
oh my God. That's not a thing.
I could get dressed for hockey, practice, have a conversation on my phone,
Right.
listen to my Walkman. I was multitasking with T9.
It's like the modern day like Morse code. Like all the little like. beep, boop,
Yeah,
boop, boop,
it's
boop,
just
boop.
muscle
And I
memory.
missed that phone that I had. It was the flip one I had, the LG, whatever. I can't remember what it was, because it was unbreakable. I literally dropped it out of a moving car one time, and it still worked.
Yeah, they don't make them like they
They
used
do
to.
not.
Our
No,
friend
we're
PJ
getting
had
there,
one
though.
that was waterproof, and he would just throw it in like water
For fun.
all the time.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Didn't he like end up actually getting like throwing it?
He ended up breaking it because he was like, "Oh yeah, watch, I can throw it against the wall," and he threw it against the wall. And just, it was like the 100,000th time that he did it, and it just shattered.
And you guys don't think we're millennials. Just wanted to be clear. Your friends are throwing phones in water.
These are just the people we hang out with. This is not us.
The people we choose
I'm
to
just
surround
saying.
ourselves.
Yeah, I guess
you
that
are what you
reflects
eat.
upon us.
Ew.
They have started bringing back old school flip phones, but we've just made it to a point now where I
Yeah,
can't.
dude,
go
I'm
back
not
that
going away
far.
from my Black Mirror.
Oh god.
Get
I have heard that like the people in Silicon Valley are using flip phones now because they're so like disillusioned with the state of like Facebook and Google taking over their lives that they're like, I can't even like deal with it, so I'm gonna use a flip phone now.
If they really want to get like off the grid, bring back the 2 tin cans with the string between it.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
That's some communication right there.
You could communicate with absolutely no one.
Yeah, because even if you're using that, it's like, what did you say? It sounds like you're coming out of a tin can.
It's actually the perfect marketing campaign. This is like, oh, you want to be off the grid? Just carry this around, and literally no one will talk to you forever.
Could you imagine going? Oh, can I talk to you? No, yeah, just hold this can.
Yeah, just hold this can,
Walk
and the person
20
just like throws it on the ground and walks away.
Hey, can I have your number? Well, you can have my can.
Yeah.
Single line access only.
Dude, if you want to talk, meet me back here at exactly this time next week.
This
and
is
I'll be here.
my personal line.
Just speaking of like phasing out old technology into new and then going back, do you guys remember? So Spike TV just shut down for good.
like the whole channel, the whole
The
station.
whole channel. Spike TV is no more, which is, I don't know how I'm going to watch Cops ever again. I
you
don't. What
gonna
else was on
do?
Spike TV? I think there was just Cops.
So they actually they brought Cops back, but in a reality way.
Okay.
So it's a reality
Wait, Cops
show.
was never real?
Well, no, it wasn't real time.
I know.
But I don't remember what the show. I read about it recently, but it's like Cops-esque, but it's a reality show. So
Okay.
I mean, take it with a grain of salt. It's not
Yeah.
the same.
No, it never will be.
No.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do
Ugh.
when they come for you?
That's like the best. There's nothing on TV. I'll just watch
I
Cops.
guess I'm just gonna watch Cops and.
I mean, I think that's really the only thing I ever watched.
So I looked.
on it.
I also thought. So I thought this was an interesting thing to think about. Is so what was like the transition of Spike TV through its its name.
Iterations.
Yeah, there was different iterations of Spike TV, and they all were kind of like generally on a somewhat similar path. But it started as TNN, which was the Nashville network. It was local to Nashville, and then it changed to the national network
because
once it
Nashville just said
said
not enough. I need national
yeah,
status.
Yeah.
national broadcast. Then it went to the new TNN, which is like the most lazy. It was like when Apple did the new. What was it? The new iPhone, or not the new iPhone? It was the new MacBook.
Oh,
Anyway, it's just a really lazy way to refresh a brand.
Well, this
the new TNN.
This reminds me of like, okay, so they went national network to TNN. Now we're the new TNN. It reminds me of like the university of college.
Yeah.
Like when it's like university and college in the same name.
Yeah. It doesn't
Like
make any
University of
sense.
Maryland, University College. It's like, well, what are you? Are you a university?
That's my favorite
or
one.
Your
It's
college.
what is it? University of Maryland University College
Yeah.
is.
It's just like UMUC.
It's a lot.
It's like I don't even know what you do here.
They
Like-
do. They learned. They learned.
They
learned.
learned.
3 times.
So then, okay, so the new TNN.
So then it turned into Spike TV, and then they eventually. I just jumped to Spike TV, and then eventually they dropped the TV and just called it Spike.
Because I guess you can watch Spike and you could watch TV. You don't actually have to watch things on TV anymore.
It's similar to Starbucks dropping coffee and Dunkin dropping donuts. Spike TV dropped TV because TV, like
We don't have to explain what we do
Steven describes himself as a cord cutter habitually on the podcast and in real life. So it's kind of the similar
Unless
thing.
it's a
Yeah,
tin
because you
can.
can
It's
stream
like-
it online.
It's like I'm watching it's like, yeah, we're in a weird spot right now with streaming because you have a digital, like you don't have to go to the television anymore. So is it a TV show or is it like a show that was made for like what type of like
It's a
commercial
show.
release? It's a show.
show.
Exactly.
Well, think
Yeah.
about TV. Think about TV too. It used to be called a television set
Yeah.
Right?
Because you had to have
because
the
you had to
actual-
have
the antenna,
antennae,
and,
and
whatever
the
this
TV
is,
set,
the
television set, then TV set, and then TV
signal.
I feel like you still
Wow.
need more accoutrements around the TV.
You don't call it a
Well, now you
Don't
need your
use
epic
French
sound
sass
bar.
in here.
Your French set.
What was that?
No, I-
Get
no,
out of here.
No, I'm in accoutrements.
No.
You need your 5.1 or whatever it is now.
Yeah,
Dolby
you-
surround
Can I
sound.
get your
have a-
amp?
I have a
5K
1.1.
TV.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even install Comcast without like the cable modem.
That's true.
That is true.
So
So
we're
then
better
can you
off.
You got
guys
to get your
think-
hue lights so you can make your
Yeah,
lights
you-
look
you
really
do.
sick while you're watching the movie.
Oh my god.
You're a liar.
You need your PlayStation 4 for all your Blu-ray needs.
What about other? Can you guys think of another TV station that has changed their name through the
Freeform.
years?
Freeform.
Oh yeah. You still watch Freeform, Jack?
Hell yeah. How else am I gonna get my Pretty Little Liars?
Dude, they canceled the Harry Potter marathon.
No,
Oh,
my roommate was watching when I left
Oh,
the house
really?
today.
oh,
yeah.
they used to do it
they
during
pushed
Christmas.
it. Yeah.
Oh, they pushed.
Yeah, they pushed it. It's on
Yeah.
TV right now. I don't know if it was Freeform. It's definitely on TV.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they used to be
Freeform
ABC
has gone
Family.
through a bunch, and we've this
Mhm.
happens with a lot, but I didn't know what it was before the
Take us through.
CBN satellite service. I don't even know what that
So is
means.
that like? Remember when satellite? You actually had to have like a gigantic dish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and then
actually
like
had
if
that
it, I remember. Well, I don't think we ever had satellite, but I remember friends who did. And if it was storming or if the wind blew a little too fast or if it was
Yeah.
raining too much, like the signal cut out.
Yeah.
And that's when you want to watch TV.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the only time I really actually want to watch it. Then it went to CBN cable network, which is kind of making sense. Satellite, now it's running through cables
Mhm.
to the house. CBN Family Channel, the Family Channel, Fox Family Channel, ABC Family for 15 years.
Yeah. That was my jam.
Yeah, ABC Family was definitely the mainstay.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. This is blowing my mind because I didn't actually know that ABC changed their name until right now.
To Freeform.
ABC Family.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, in your defense, it only happened like a year ago or two, maybe. But yeah, get with it.
Why? Why?
Because ABC Family
Is it not a
'cause
family?
the content that they were producing for the channel was not family friendly anymore.
Little risque.
Like Pretty Little Liars, which is about murder and a lot of just like sexual
Breaking
content. It's
free
it's
of
for
the
the
old
tw-
form.
it's for the tweens and for people like me, and so they just didn't want
Yeah.
it to be ABC Family.
So they're
anymore. It's
teenagers
misleading.
now, you know.
Yeah. So the content is a little I don't know. It's just
It's a little more risky. No, I see what you're saying, Jack.
but
a
it's-
little
Mature.
more-
It's mature.
but it's still for like that tween audience, like
Yeah.
you know,
But it's
or
not so much
teens.
the
in
strictly
general. And
family.
tween and
and 20-year-olds.
late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I feel like most shows for like the what, tweens. What is even a tween? What is
It's like
the age
12,
of a tween?
like 11 to
So you're
13.
in between ages, like
I think like anyone who's like in high school or younger, not for tween, but like that the shows that are representing those age groups. I feel like all those shows are so not necessarily evil, but like there's always issues where I'm just like, wow, if that happened at my high school, I would just be like, I need to transfer
well, they're
schools.
becoming more real. Like they're tackling issues that are serious, like cyberbullying and things that should be talked about in a much more.
Well, and they're
Yeah.
doing it. They're not normalizing it, but they're bringing it up and starting the conversation. And I feel like when I watch those same types of shows
Yeah.
from when we were kids,
No.
they
They
were
did-
like almost making it satire.
No, but they didn't exist because when we were that age, we were watching things like Full House, which is a big joke, and like, and these shows that are like everything's fine as long as you hug after. It's like that's
Right.
not.
Like, what was the worst thing that ever happened in Saved by the Bell? Like they couldn't find some
actually,
pet
the
they
worst
snuck
thing
in?
that happened was that Becky like OD'd on caffeine pills.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
That is right because you're
So-
staying up to study for a test.
Yeah, but even that, it's like caffeine pills. Nowadays, it'd probably be like hard drugs. Like,
And she was,
Yeah, it's like,
actually
oh,
bad.
dude, she's doing speed or like
cocaine.
coke.
yeah,
I don't know what drugs do what
Yeah.
anymore.
it's definitely gotten a little more.
I was trying to flip through like in my head. I was like,
your
okay,
dare pamphlet.
You
I'm
just can't make storylines like that anymore because kids have computers and cell phones that tell them that drugs are out there and that there's sex out there and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
like
have to be
immediately.
realistic.
like, I don't think. What do you guys think it would be like if we went back and did like middle school and high school again in today's
Oh, I
time
would be
period.
scared shitless.
Well, so that was what? How long ago was that? We were 12. So
do we have to do that?
hold
math?
on,
I don't
15
wanna
years
do the
ago.
Yeah.
The world would be over by now because we're devolving so quickly.
math. Yeah, it's awful.
The world wouldn't exist.
Imagine with all the technology and all the things and all the ways
Nope.
that we communicate and stuff. Imagine if it was like
Poor kids. That's all I
passing
have to say.
notes was like stressful enough
Oh
for
my
me.
God, I
Like
know.
imagine if I had to worry about like the typing bubbles.
Well, I
Like,
went
oh my god.
like at summer camp, we had to put the cell phones away, right? And now everyone has a cell phone, and no one's gonna. If I was a kid and someone said I need to take your cell phone, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, are you going to take my Apple Watch too? And are you going to take all these other devices that allow me to communicate with the rest of the world?
Yeah.
No. But they took my Tamagotchi.
Dead.
Well, now we have to read the news, which is an even better form of communication.
Yeah, that's true. But I like reading the news.
Yeah. What do you guys do? How do you consume your news?
I wake up every morning and read the Skim.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Skim.
Love
Are
the
you a
Skim.
Skim Pro ambassador? Have you shared
No.
it enough?
I shared it with one person. No, I don't want to force my news habits on other
Yeah.
people, but I do really like the Skim, and I will share some things with like mostly my sister because I know she also reads the Skim. But and then I just like I get a lot of my news from Facebook. I think I'm like a very rare breed, but I check Facebook all the time because I follow like The Hill and these other news organizations that are constantly giving me stuff in my feed.
I wouldn't say that's a rare thing. I think that's
For
like.
our age, it kind of is.
You think so?
Not a ton of people are on Facebook. Well, I mean,
I think everyone's on Facebook consuming
Really?
news.
I mean, I think there's a big backlash right now, and you're hearing a lot about it. But I
Yeah.
think for a long time, a lot of people were getting Facebook news.
Feel like you might be an outlier in maybe the sources you get your news from. So like if
Maybe,
you're
maybe.
following like certain things that you kind of would generally follow off of Facebook,
yeah,
you kind of have an idea. Whereas if you were only getting like links that your friends put up from like random things and you weren't actually like you weren't doing it every day, like you know these sources, you understand like kind of where they come at with different subjects and topics and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. I feel like that's maybe different.
yeah. I don't know. I just always assume that like, well, maybe it's because I use Facebook mostly for news consumption and less for actual interaction with people. I don't post anything. I
Yeah.
don't really comment on anything. But I watch Facebook Lives that are related to topics I like and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I get 4,000 notifications on my phone
Yeah.
from every single news source, and then I read them or don't read them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, similar to the Skim, I read the Axios newsletter in the
Mhm.
morning, which I think is pretty good for what it is. Like, I like that, like, quick, like,
Yeah.
Here's the news of the day kind of thing. But I also do work for a media company called The Atlantic, so I do tend to read the longer form journalism there, just because I'm staring at the website all day. But that's generally where I get my news from. I haven't used Facebook in a very long time. And I think I'm a little wary of what it does.
I kind of like the way that Jackie was describing how she uses it, though, because if you're following credible media outlets and you already have done the work to know that they are respectable and you can trust them, that's kind of a nice way to get the feed because they're pushing it because that's how they're going to get the most access, right? They're going to get engagement. They're going to get just page views, even if it's just scrolling through. You're going to have an impression and you're going to be able to get your message across because it's such a big platform.
Yeah, it's a bit like an RSS feed.
yeah,
She's just using it. In
The problem is it's delivered by an algorithm. So, like, if you're, leading liberal, it's going to start, really reinforcing your biases.
yeah. But I also, specifically during election time, I unfollowed. I didn't unfriend, but I unfollowed a lot of people who were posting things that I didn't want to see all the time. And that helped a lot, clean up my feed. And so I really only see the Hill post every second of the day. And so I see that all the time. And then I also get stuff from like Tasty, and I've cooked recipes off of there too. It's like not news, but it's where I get my, I don't know.
It's where you get your content.
It's where I get my content. It's mostly Facebook and I guess Instagram too.
Do you ever feel like any of it's fake? Like, do you ever think like, hey, this might not be a real story?
I mean, I guess I always check where it's coming from. I don't really open the ones that aren't the major news sources.
Yeah, like the clickbait articles that that get real crazy that might just like throw up a crazy headline just to get you to.
Or I'll read the headline and then Google it and then try to find someone who actually has some credibility who wrote about it.
Well, it's hard. It's hard anymore too.
Like Kim Kardashian's new baby, specifically.
It's hard because you can put a a Times New Roman on a white background, and you can write anything, and if you write it in the right format and the layout, anybody can make a WordPress site or even a Wix or just put something on the internet and make it look like a newspaper. And psychologically, for people who are used to print type, they say, okay, because this looks like a newspaper, this is a real article. So I'm going to distribute this like you were talking, Jackie, about Facebook. I can just massively distribute this. And, hey, I'm biased to this subject or this topic, so I'm going to share this. And then that thing just gets passed around, and it looks like it's something that's credible. But you can even the name of the website can sound credible. Like, do you guys have any examples of like a...
So, well, back when the election was kind of going on in full swing, like there was this example of, and I think these guys got wrote up in the Washington Post, but these two guys went to college, they made a website out in California, and they just made tons of money off of just Facebook advertising and ads, just writing these clickbait articles because they, I think, had a background in political reporting. They're like, we know what people are like, those like really like hot flash in the pan topics are. So they're just like, well, let's just make shit up. And so they would just write shit up and just post it. And like it was inordinately effective. So it's like, how do you stop that? Yeah. Do you tell Facebook to stop, police your own content? Where's the freedom of speech? Because, technically you're allowed to write that stuff.
So what do you think? Yeah, but it's kind of, is it the consumer that's responsible, or is it?
Yeah, people got to be. People have.
I don't think you can hold. I don't think you can hold the outlet, because then you could just say, "Well, the internet's irresponsible," but no one polices the internet.
That's the argument with Twitter right now. It's like, well, shut it down. Like, shut this person down because they're saying ridiculous things. No, it's freedom of speech. They can say whatever the hell they want, and you could talk about your mundane day of just like waking up and going to the gym, and no one's gonna care. Or you can talk about really sensitive topics, and everyone's gonna care. But at the end of the day, it's someone's opinion. It's not fact. I mean,
well, I think there's been a lot of work to undermine like journalistic integrity in this country. And I was watching the David Letterman interview with Obama last night, and I think Obama said it best, where he was like, we're operating on like two different worlds of facts. There's not a level playing field of facts that we're all operating on.
Right.
So if there's no facts that we're all operating on, then like you have chaos, right? How do you know what's real? How do you say like that's wrong and that's right?
Yeah, I think for me, like, so like I get most of my news from two places. So the newsletters from a variety. I probably get more daily newsletters in my inbox than I probably should. But I love having the variety because I get them from all different types of places, and then I can say, all right, I've like looked across all of these for today. I've read all these different articles. Now I have a pretty good idea of a good general opinions from these multiple places. So now I can make my own kind of, decision on what I might think about a certain topic because I've at least exposed myself to things that I don't even like. I get one newsletter. I can't remember I don't remember the name of it, but I hate it. Like it's terrible. It looks terrible. It's not good, but like at least it's a different view. So that's why I keep it around. Yeah. So like Jackie's Facebook version for me is my email inbox. Like that's where I go to get like that new stuff. And then the second place is podcasts. So I listen to a lot of like daily news roundup podcasts. So I get the same kind of thing. Like I listen to pretty much people say the exact same. Here's the 3 headlines for the day. And I listen to 4 or 5 different ways in the morning. And I get like that kind of mix. And then use other longer form podcasts, which I love. Because like sometimes I don't have the time to read a long article, but a long form podcast episode about one specific topic that's been like researched really well, and they actually cite their sources so that you could even like go to the show notes and see where they get all these things from if you want to go do a deeper dive. Like that is super valuable to me in terms of like deep diving into like a topic.
That always raises the question to me of like, is the world too complicated for any single person to be expected to understand? Like, you have 4 newsletters and like a long form podcast, and you probably still don't grasp the complexity of all these issues that you have to like think about, right?
I mean, I think
It's like information overload.
Yeah, I think what the
Definitely.
thing is that people, for me, it's a matter of you have a choice to decide how far you want to educate yourself on anything.
Absolutely.
So like, I really like coffee, and I have books on coffee. I follow websites on coffee. My goal is to never buy the same roaster twice, so I can taste different coffee. Like, adapting that sort of thing to like my news intake is like, that's my kind of system.
But then someone might want to be like, hey, I don't want to learn all this about coffee. I just want the really good, give me the bullet points of
Yeah.
how to make good coffee.
So
Which
then,
is what I
so I
like
can make
about
an
the
informed decision.
explainer videos on Facebook,
Yeah.
where it's like, this is your 22-second explainer on like this exact topic.
I think another good thing too is for people to like, so back when there was newspapers, right? You get your local newspaper.
They still have newspapers.
Okay.
Back when there was
Back when
newspapers.
newspapers were the primary source.
back when people
Newspaper was like,
Yeah.
if it was printed in the newspaper, it was fact like 100%.
Yeah, what I meant by that
Ride
was
or die with the newspaper.
back when there was like a morning newspaper and an evening newspaper, and then you had your weekend newspaper. You know what I mean? The flash, like quick, extra, like this, just hot off the press sort of stuff. You had the same general writers for your area if
Right.
you were getting the paper. So over time, you could get a really good idea of like their take on things,
Yep.
how they explain things, where they stand on certain issues. So you could read a column from them and be like, okay, yeah, this is like what they're saying, this is their take, but now I understand, I know this person. So I think it's hard when like you have like if a video pops up, it's like, okay, here's a quick explainer video. Sometimes if it's from a small news site that doesn't have that longevity, or you haven't seen them before, how do you know? It's like, okay, yeah, there's like these facts on screen, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to condense stuff quickly that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is going to be a real shock to you guys, but I like Apple News
No, I mean, Apple News isn't that bad.
because I like the format. I like that it collects sources that I already know and kind of gives you like I just opened it up right now. Top stories. The Hill pops up.
Mhm.
Jackie was talking about that she follows on Facebook. I have People for my entertainment news. I have ABC, NBC. I don't know why TMZ's on there.
You know exactly why, because they're talking about Kim
'cause they're talking about Kim
Kardashian.
Kardashian, and I've
Named her
probably
child
Googled
Chicago.
that
You know
We'll
you
talk
watch
about that
TMZ.
later.
Watch
But
that
and
Kim
then it gives you
Nobody's
like the trending
surprised.
stories. I really wish that I was a good Twitter user because I really wish I got more news from Twitter, and I keep trying.
Okay.
It's
to-
so hard because you have
Too
to be
much.
your own curator.
Yeah.
Well, I tried Nuzzle to what Nuzzle does is
Yeah.
it kind of collects the stories that the people you follow and it kind of collects that and puts it in a nice form. So I do like Nuzzle, but I'm just not like a power Twitter user. I didn't get into it at the right time. Now
I don't-
Instagram on the other hand.
I don't know. There's a
Well,
lot of benefit to
right.
it
Deep
either.
in
Well,
the
I love
Instagram.
Twitter for event stuff. So like, I'm big into like cycling, and so when I'm like a cycling race might be going on, like who knows, like in Europe somewhere. But like if the Twitter feed, like it's that quick update, like 5 riders in the break, this person leading, and like using it as just a way to like do, like when
Like
you
a
watch.
live stream,
Yeah, like
kinda?
a live, like just a live text
Text, yeah.
update kind of thing. So instead of doing it on the site, just like doing it on Twitter. I think that's a super useful thing for Twitter, that it's in the moment, it's short bits of information. But then when people just start yelling at each other on Twitter, it's like, seriously, like,
I mean, it was supposed to be this like platform for the world's like news to be like cast out without any
Yeah.
barriers and stuff, and it's just evolved into. I don't even have a
Reality
word for
television.
it, but
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Well, how
probably
much-
just waiting for Google News to build out their platform since I already use every other one of their
Google
products.
used to have news.
No, they do have Google News.
Oh, yeah, like build out their like platform to
Like their app. It's Google News and weather. So just, like drop the weather. All right. Google.
I can
listen
put my
to this
hand out the window.
Listen to
People
this
need to know.
podcast and drop the weather and just have Google News.
There you go. Let's follow the name change routine. I think it's also important for people not to smother themselves on news, even though like we get tons of stuff. It's just like, you know what? Sometimes just like don't listen to the news that day. Like people, if it's that important, people will tell you about
I've been
it.
taking little news hiatuses just to like. Okay, I don't need because I remember during the election I was into my teeth with news. Like it was every morning. It was
Yeah.
every second. It was all the podcasts. It was just like totally into it. And I just have to take a break in every now.
Yeah, take a
little
break.
pause.
Yeah.
Little pause and just
Little pause.
Google some stuff.
Pause it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Google,
Google what?
Google what? Who
Would
wants to
you
go
like-
first? then?
I thought you would like to go first, Steven.
Well, I will go first. So, the other night, the fiance and I were just hanging out, and she was like, "Whatever happened to elevator music?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a good Google question."
Muzak.
Yeah, so elevator music, also muzak, just background music. Just kind of having music in the background to play when there's no sound.
Yeah.
First, the first ever version of this was this like really old kind of classical music kind of thing called furniture music, and it was the first time music was like composed and played just to be in the background, and like no one had to pay attention to it really. It was just there to fill like the dead space. And then with elevators, people were really scared of elevators when elevators became a thing.
I could only. I'm still.
I'm
scared.
still scared of elevators.
Totally bizarre concept.
Like anytime anyone gets into an elevator with me and they start doing the thing like whoa and they start shaking it, it's like, yo, dude,
Well,
you
what
need to
elevators
chill.
you
What
get
is
to
it?
shake.
It's not flight. It's not.
It's steel cables pulling you
It's a pulley system.
through a black hole into your
It's
death.
just lift, and it's yeah. Like I don't like
It's
going.
horrifying.
If I have to go to like the 34th or
It's
like 50th
levitation.
floor of somewhere, and I'm in that elevator and it's moving, but I don't feel like it's moving. It's just one of those things where it's Willy Wonka.
You get there
like,
so
Top
fast.
10 reasons why I can't live in New York is if I worked in one of those buildings in the high floor and it actually moved. No, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like
Nope.
so because
never get used
You
to
could
it.
wear one of those like hip airbags
Oh,
just in
yeah.
case you
It'd be
fell.
a hip parachute,
Yeah. yeah.
and it would actually be on my back.
You'd be
That
so
would probably
you'd
come in
be
useful.
So safe. So the reason this background music started getting called elevator music is because people were freaked out to go in these elevators. So to calm them down a little bit, they would play this like gentle kind of background music in the elevator, so that way you would just take a chill pill before going up. So people started calling it elevator music, and it really is just any non-threatening instrumental music that just kind of calms you out. But now, since we all just walk around with like, earbuds
Earpods,
in it,
yeah.
and we're always on our phones, and there's just so much other noise and stuff around. It's just kind of people stopped requesting speakers to be put in elevators. So you'll still hear like music in the background when you're at the store and stuff like that. It's just now background music for us is like Taylor Swift.
I was recently in an elevator in New York where they had a TV that was just blaring crap at you
Oof.
because you're just crammed in there with so many other people. You all just need something to look at.
Yeah, because not each other, because that's awkward.
Yeah.
We've gotten into
Just
that
gotta
before.
hold your breath.
Gas pump. A gas pump had a TV. I was pumping gas, and it
Yeah.
had a TV. And as soon as I started pumping, it did like this 30-second commercial. I was like, great, yeah, I'm done pumping gas now.
Reminds me of Minority Report. Hey, Steven, how are you today?
It's the same as cabs. You get in, and it's like Jimmy Kimmel yelling at you, and you're like, "Why? How? Who? I don't know."
Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
Maybe we should display the news on all these TVs to people and they can get their news that
We
way.
should just put New Pod Who Dis on all these TVs.
Oh my gosh.
Now we're
Wow.
doing
Absolutely.
Boom. So that was my Google What, and I'm now going to spend the rest of my life on the lookout for one elevator left in the world with music in it.
All right, I'll go next. So, did you guys ever play paintball?
Yes, twice, and I was
Absolutely
terrible.
not.
Oof. The welts.
The first time I ever played, I was so scared. I just stood hunched way in the back, long enough where the people on the other team ran around and then shot me in the butt.
Were you on like a course or just like in the woods?
It was a course in the woods. It was a big course in the woods. So like, and my dad had taken me, and my whole team just went forward, and I was just scared. I didn't fire one paintball.
That's a shame. So I played progressive.
I would have kicked your ass.
Yeah.
You'd have been done.
That's a shame you were my friend, so I could
That's a
have
shame.
lit you up.
That's a shame. That was mean. I'm sorry, Steven.
No, it's all right. I you do it.
So I played paintball a lot in like middle school. It was so I would buy and sell paintball guns to kind of like trade up right?
Tons of people did that.
Oh, dude, that was like the thing. And I would like buy on eBay, and I would save a couple more, couple more lawns. I could buy the next level up. So I just recently saw on one of my buddies' Instagram feeds that he's on like a team, and he plays what they call speedball. So with like all blow up courses and stuff, and like full gear jerseys, like sweet. They call them markers. Like when you're a pro, like a paintball gun's called a marker.
Oh
so
my God.
I saw his setup,
So
and it was just like
pretentious.
amazing. So I had to Google. I Googled what the last gun that I had upgraded to, because I was going to comment on his Instagram, like, oh yeah, I remember back when but I couldn't remember what it was called. So I Googled. I was like, I think it was called a Smart Part Imp. I remember it calling Imp. So I Googled it, and it was a Smart Parts Impulse from 2001. So it's been
This
a while.
looks so familiar.
Yeah, but we used to play in the woods, and the best time ever, we played behind our pool. So we were playing King of the Hill 4x4. So you tried to get on top. One team tried to get on top of the hill and beat the team that was shooting down at you. And it was right behind a Montessori school. So we were making a lot of noise, and I guess they had like a summer program. So a teacher came out to us and was like, where are your parents? Like, do your parents know you're out here shooting guns at each other? And my dad gets up from behind a tree. He's like, yeah, I'm right here. They're fine.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that was my Google what. Going down memory lane with my my paintball guns, or my marker, and then bash on Steven for being a wimp.
Well, my friend liked to give me the pump gun, and
Oh,
he would have
God.
the other one. He's like,
That
all
was
right,
the first
Steven,
one
you
I
stand
had.
over there, and I'll stand over here, and we'll. Like, you kidding me?
Oh, that was the progression. I had the pump. I had the Tipman 98, which was just like the Jeep, the go anywhere, do anything, durable, throw it off a wall, and you're still good. And then slowly progress to the fancier and more breakable guns.
You could say any letters in front of words, and I would think it's a paintball gun.
Who's up next?
I'll go next. I Googled how to find a stud.
Look in a mirror.
Yeah.
I bought a bicycle rack to drill into the wall so I could hang my bike. And so I live in an apartment, and I don't have that many tools available at my disposal. And I was like, oh, crap, I don't have a stud finder. So there's apps on my phone that will supposedly find a stud.
Nah, dude, they don't work.
It's like it's a magnet. It'll find the nails, and you can kind of like guess. But you can also look at the outlets in the wall, and on either side of the outlet is usually a stud.
Right.
And then you can kind of like tap on the wall and knock 16 or 24 inches apart. I've put about 10 holes in the wall before I just got a stud finder.
That's fair.
Which told me that the stud was an inch away from most of my holes.
From 9 of the 10
Yeah,
holes.
from 9 of the 10 holes. So, So then I also bought some spackle because I'm going to need to fix that.
Fix some stuff. That's unfortunate. My Google what? So it's timely. Today's Friday, January 19th, and there's a looming government shutdown, which affects directly both Stephen and I on this podcast, and also Americans everywhere. So I just wanted to know some stuff about the shutdown. I mean, we were all there for 2013, but I wanted to know just how many there were in life and also how frequent these are. So just so everyone knows,
They seem like they're like all the time now, right?
well, I'm going to tell you. There have been 18 shutdowns since 1976, which is it sounds like a lot. 18. However, before the 2013 shutdown, the last shutdown was oh shit, I lost it. Crap. It had been like 15 years.
That's a good stretch.
15 or 16 years.
The
Yeah.
lifetime of ABC Family.
Yeah. But
Good years.
the 2013 shutdown cost $84 billion. Or $24 billion, sorry. And which is still a shit ton
That's
of money.
still a shit ton of money.
And the whole point of the shutdown is to pass a budget. So like it doesn't really make a ton of sense that you're spending that much money. Also, a bunch of people are furloughed with no pay and no guarantee of back pay. So it's really terrible. But there are some things that are affected with a shutdown. The Center of Disease Control can no longer surveil diseases.
That's bad.
New patients can't be accepted to the NIH for clinical trials. Visas and passport services are stopped. National parks are usually closed, except with this administration, they said that they're keeping them open. And inspections for food, things like this that are really necessary are not allowed to take place. So yeah, it's rough, and I'm really curious to know what happens at 10 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, I remember when all the guys were growing out their shutdown beards in 2013. I just remember it was mostly like the DoD people, and like it was just like you were walking around town and all these people just have these beards. Like, yeah, I'm growing a shutdown beard.
Shutdown beard.
Oh, so it was 17
Furlough
years. The 2013, there had been 17 years since a shutdown. What am I saying? 2013.
Math.
Math is hard.
You know what I'm saying.
Anyway,
Okay.
let's just be thankful that the president canceled his trip to Florida today
Did he?
to see the outcome
Of his
passing
country?
the bill or the budget that would fund the government. So thank you to the president for that.
And let's just hope for not a shutdown.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at NewPodWhoDis. Subscribe to us on YouTube and give us a subscribe and review on iTunes. As Kate said in our YouTube video, we love 5 stars.
We do. And if you haven't seen that YouTube video, it is on our YouTube channel. We rate toothpaste, charcoal toothpaste, I
You
believe.
can also find it at newpodwhodis.
.com. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Until next week, take care.
Bye.
See you later.
Peace.